I'm a genuine person. There's no, listen, if you're going to slip and fall in my mouth, it's going to have to be genuine. Okay.
Oh, God.
See what I mean?
Okay.
It's not the kind of thing you hear from just everybody.
No.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good, the bad, and Lily, the shocking. The absolutely shocking stories
The outrageous.
of sugar dating. Why are you giving me this deer in a headlight look?
I'm tired.
Yeah. You look almost like a little zombie, but
I had a rough night.
Lily had a long night.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a good night.
I'm not going to complain.
Well,
Except I need a nap.
well, thanks for joining us today, Lily. You know, there's so much I want to get into, but we have a couple special guests. We have a return guest, Jack. I don't know if you guys remember, but he came on the show a few months ago, and his voice is magical. So welcome back, Jack.
Well, it's good to be back. And the reason I came back was because I happened to meet Canela. And I thought, well, now the show might be interested in somebody very exotic. And it's a shame that it's radio rather than television, but also a little on the international side. So I thought, okay, let's all get together. And then she told me what her past was. I won't say anything more than that, other than to say I thought, okay, this could be something a little bit different.
All right. Well, let me introduce Miss Canela. How are you today?
I am great.
Boy, I wish
thank
you guys could see what I'm seeing. Very exotic. Now, you've got a little accent. Where's this
Yes, originally from the Caribbean.
from? Oh, I love it,
Yes,
man.
yes. Well, I'm mixed race, but you know, born in Jamaica. So my dad is Indian, Jamaican, and my mom is Cuban. So got a lot of mix going on there.
You also have some Egyptian.
Yes, I do have
Wow.
Egyptian
And I thought you
heritage
needed
too,
an
yes.
Egyptian on the
Yeah,
program.
you know, actually,
We've had one.
I had her, an Egyptian sugar baby. Yeah. So we had her on the program. Her accent was a little thick, so it was tough to understand everything she said. But yeah, she had an interesting sugar baby life, and I think she still is. I need to check in with her. But she, you know, what happened? She ended up getting a boyfriend, so we kind of ended our arrangement. But then she reached out not too long ago and wanted to grab a drink. So I think the boyfriend thing is gone.
Whatever your background, it's a stunning combination. You are absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so
Well,
much, beautiful.
Honestly,
Likewise.
Canela is 28, and I have a master bedroom closet test for age, and that is that if anybody is less old than the wardrobe that I have in my master bedroom closet,
There you
if
go.
I have clothing in my master bedroom older than the woman, she's too young. And I've got a couple of suits and some shoes that are older than 28.
Okay, so just to kind of get a bit of background on Canela. Now, Jack, you met her on Seeking?
I did. Last
Okay.
person I met on Seeking.
Oh, okay.
I
And
actually reached out to Jack on Seeking.
oh, you reached
Yes,
out.
I did. Listen, I'm very forward, and if I like something and I feel like it's going to work, I'll go for it.
Oh, I
you know,
love it.
I'm not shy. I feel like, you know, you should just put it out on the table and make it make sense for everybody. Be honest, be upfront. You know, let's not waste each other's time. And he was looking for a certain age, you know, like 30 and up or something like that. And I was like, you know, I like your, what was it, a vibe? I said, I really like your vibe. I appreciate that, you know, you came out and showed yourself, but it looks like I'm quite shy, you know, the numbers wise, what you're looking for.
Well, at one point in the evening, we're sitting in the restaurant, and it comes time to talk about a business arrangement. So I'm sitting there very carefully explaining in words of 2 syllables less how all of this works. And I want all of you to remember that I'm doing this with her, assuming she really doesn't know much about this. Wait till you hear what her past is. You will have to appreciate the irony of the situation. I'm sitting there and she's probably thinking, will you shut the fuck up?
Well, Canela,
fun.
we're all anxious to hear how you got to this point. So
Yes.
start where you want. And becoming a sugar baby is kind of a process. Some people they're curious. Some
Yes.
people need a little extra income. What was your motivation?
For me, I transitioned out of the sex working field. I got into the sex work at 23 years old at Bunny Ranch. I decided, well,
the famous Bunny
the
Ranch
famous
in
Bunny
Nevada.
Ranch. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
How long
yes,
did you work
yes.
there?
I was there for about a year and a half.
You know what? I really haven't talked to anybody actually that's had that experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
So initially, you basically come in. There's a bar when you come in, and then there's a little door that you go in. You know, if you want to negotiate, or if you'd like to explore the ranch and get a tour, you would basically go with a lady of your choice, or you can get a lineup. They would line up for you, and whichever lady tickles your fancy, you go with that lady.
Okay.
And then they negotiate from there. Everything is protected. They also get tested once a week. So
Okay.
there's a blood test and everything is protected, including, I mean, everybody think this is nuts, but even the BJ is protected.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that's nuts at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've got people just coming and going, so you have to take the most
Absolutely,
precautions.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. How would you handle somebody that you just absolutely were not attracted to at all?
If I wasn't attracted to them, I'm not going to lie. When it came to sex work, I didn't look at the attraction.
Yeah.
It's a service.
Sure.
Right? And that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
So it all came down to what would you like and can you afford that?
Right.
So the only way I would turn somebody away is if I felt like A, I was uncomfortable, or B, I simply can't provide the service that you're asking me for. So I will have another lady on standby that maybe that's her type, or she would take that person and we trade off.
So you didn't have to have the attraction or
No.
the chemistry.
No.
But being in the sugar baby life.
Yes, that's where I combined, my knowledge of sex work and I want to be in control of who I let in and out. So that's where the attraction and the connection was a thing for me. And I don't like casual dating. I'm sorry, there's just too much casualties with casual dating. It's a very one-sided thing.
Right.
So being a sugar baby just worked for me. And I was like, well, I have the knowledge. I know what I'm doing in the bedroom. So why not combine that and have the security with it? It just makes sense for everybody.
Well, Marcus, you can clearly see you're having to draw her out.
Yeah, I'm that way.
Barely any
Yeah,
more
tough
than
to
a
get
wallflower.
anything out of
She
this
was
woman.
telling me- I asked her on the way down. I said, well, tell me about, and I said, give me a sugar daddy experience. And she said, well, one of my clients, she said, I converted him to a sugar daddy. And I said, wait a minute, did he have any say in the matter? And she said, no, he was obsessed. And I thought, oh, well,
That was a
okay.
That was a fact. I mean, when you're doing what you're doing and you're doing it right, you can't go wrong.
Oh,
You can't
Lily's
go
face
wrong.
over here. What are your thoughts so far?
Slightly speechless. So I want to know about the recruiting process at the Bunny Ranch. How do you get hired on at the Bunny Ranch?
It's not easy to get in. And believe it or not, they have a long waiting list. So I knew people.
Okay.
Yes, and that's how I got.
I assume the money is very good.
Oh, very, very,
Like,
very good.
Give us a range. What a good working girl could make at the Bunny Ranch.
Honestly, you can easily make over 200,000
Yeah,
easily,
I believe it.
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, there's sometimes my biggest weekend was over 60,000
yeah.
in a weekend. What I did not like, okay, I can understand that they did charge for room and board every day. What my disagreement was the tips. They even wanted half your tips. And I'm just like, well, I'm the one taking the tips. Why am I sharing that with you? But initially, they do take half of whatever you negotiated up front. And they take half the tips as well, plus room and board. It's a very, very sophisticated place, very classy. The classiest, I would say, is Mustang Ranch, hands down. And they did provide security guards, which Bunny did not. So that's why I liked Mustang best, even though their system was very much the same.
Years ago, I watched it was a series on television they had filmed at the Bunny Ranch. Jack, did you see that?
I did.
It was a matter of fact, the owner,
Dennis Hoff,
he passed away.
Yeah.
And he was actually elected to an
I know,
office
right
in
after
Nevada after he
A
died.
dead man won. A dead man won in office. That's yeah.
It's funny because
Yeah.
I do remember seeing the series. I remember looking at the women and thinking, for the most part, these are not particularly attractive women. And I didn't see anybody in there that looked like you. So
Oh, let me tell you, I became a problem real quick. I became a problem quickly.
Why do you say a problem?
A problem because one, I'm a fast learner, and two, I pick up very fast. And in 6 months, I was constantly on top. So believe it or not, he took the way you sold cars and applied it to
Sex work.
sex work.
Sure.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It worked like a charm. So in essence, the ladies, be the car, be the red car, be the Lamborghini.
Take a test drive.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So I'm curious, why did you leave?
I left, I'm getting there. Because I worked at Kit Kat as well, Bunny or Kitty of the Month. And Dennis saw how successful I was getting on my own. And he was like, well, honey, mind you, I am the only exotic, Caribbean woman there. And he's like, honey, well, it's time to spread the love and share this and share that. And I'm like, Dennis, you're taking half my money. Now, if you want to switch up on these percentages and maybe take 30% and I take 70, then I can work with you because I'm taking time to teach these ladies. And that got him very upset.
Huh.
Very upset. And also Dennis is the kind of person that he likes to sleep with his top ladies. He must. The top breadwinner, he wants to try that too. Which is fine, but I'm very much a businesswoman. I don't believe in something for nothing. And he did not like that, and we couldn't see eye to eye.
Okay.
And so it was time for me to find something else.
Okay. And where'd you go?
I went to Mustang Ranch after that.
All right. Now, you eventually transitioned out of that.
I did as a whole because I felt like I can do better all by myself.
Yeah. So what are you up to these days?
These days, I am a caregiver and I do the sugar baby thing part-time. It's a little bit different and it's a little bit rough on these sites. I'm telling you, it's very interesting. You have to work a lot harder. You have to be a lot more creative. Okay.
I think Lily knows exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah, you have to be a lot more creative to draw it out. So,
Well, let me jump in for just a second. There are two urban legends, urban myths about Jamaican women. One is they're spectacularly good at it. I can attest personally, although not with Canela, I can attest to the fact that is absolutely true. And the second part is you do not mess with their money. And I think,
see?
I think you're beginning to get the impression that you do
yes.
not mess with their money.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
What brought you to Arizona?
I do have some family here in
Okay.
Arizona, and I needed a fresh start. I needed something different. And one of the ladies actually that worked at Mustang, I moved in with her, and she was just like, oh, why don't you just come with me? And you've got some family here too, so why not? And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Love the weather. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
I'm a tropical woman, so the sun,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Right. All right. So you jumped on Seeking. Did you do any other sites, sugar daddy sites? There's a few.
I did try Secret Benefits, but Seeking was the most successful. I actually had a 2-year arrangement to the point where we did live together.
Really?
Yes.
It turned into a relationship.
It was not a relationship, more like a sugar baby relationship because he was still married.
Wait.
And I even met his wife. And his
Oh, this is
Yes.
going to be interesting. Let's
Okay.
have
Yeah.
some details here.
All right. we need to rewind because we skipped over a lot of details now that I do want to know.
I know some of this story.
Yeah,
And I've never met this guy. I never plan to meet him. This man does not have an ounce of class anywhere in his body.
Really?
Oh,
it turned sour because, you see, this is why you have to be upfront about what you want, right? This whole guessing game and, oh, if I give her this, she might give me that. Like, you can't just buy somebody or give them something and expect, well, this is going to get me everything I want. No. Like, tell me you want me to be yours or you want it this way or that way. He just got possessive, to say the word.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. You met this guy on Seeking,
I did.
and did you do like a meet and greet?
I did a meet and greet. Matter of fact, believe it or not, the first day I did the meet and greet, I met his son. So that was
Wow, Lily's over here just beside herself.
I met his son. Yes.
How old was
the
his son?
First, he is probably in his late 40s.
His son is in the late 40s?
Yeah.
So
I
this,
think
old?
mid to late, maybe. I think.
how old,
Or early 40s.
how old is the sugar daddy?
Right now, he's in his early 70s.
Okay. you know, the
These
sugar
are the
daddy.
men who love me.
Yeah, the sugar
yeah?
daddy
The
world is very
elderly
small. So
men love me.
Lily may have been hit up by this guy. Who knows? But
Perhaps.
perhaps.
Oh,
Okay.
he has a type.
So
Oh, then it's probably not me.
He has a type.
okay, so you met him and things went well the first date or meet and greet or whatever, and you decided to pursue.
Yes.
Did you? I'm kind of getting that you didn't really talk specifics. It kind of think it evolved a little bit.
It moved rapidly because, well, he basically was like, well, why don't you just move in with me? We were constantly seeing each other like maybe every weekend. And he was just like, well, the way the house was set up, it's like divided in two. So it's like 2 apartments, but it's a house.
Yeah.
So he was just like, yeah, why don't you just move in? You know, that makes sense. And I was
At this point, did you know that he was married?
He told me that they were separated. So I was just like, okay. I never knew about the married part until, maybe that's my fault. I should have asked the question. But I didn't know how deep I was getting
And was
into
she
this.
living in the house?
She was not.
Oh,
So they
Well,
live apart. They're separate.
okay. So they were separated then.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's quite interesting because I got invited to Thanksgiving last Thanksgiving. And I was like, thank you. That is so sweet. But I really should give you that time to spend with your family. That was just too far for me to just, But they are very nice to me. I don't have any issues.
So
with them.
when you met the wife, did
Yes, I
she
did
know
meet the
your
wife.
role?
According to him,
What did she think?
I don't say anything, I let him do the talking. I don't instigate.
Wait a minute. I have to say something. If she had 2 points of IQ, she
Yeah.
could have guessed.
Oh, I'm
what was
sure
going-
easily.
He comes in with Miss
Easily.
Hot Body here, Miss
Easily.
Exotic, and his wife looks at him and says, "Oh, it's a platonic friend. Give me a break."
So, was the wife age appropriate?
Of course.
And was she exotic?
No.
Well, you said he has a type,
Yes. He likes exotic women.
but he didn't
Women of
marry
color.
one.
No, he did not. It's crazy because he told me straight up. He was like, well, I married because I felt like it made sense. I wanted kids and I wanted to settle down and get this shit over with. I said, okay.
Yeah, I think
that
we've been
makes
there.
sense.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's like, well, why not? Well, I basically want to be in heaven and I want to retire with beautiful women. And, this is what I want. And I'm like, well, you definitely have somebody that's not, you can't find me everywhere. I'm very rare in these parts, so.
And were you exclusive to this gentleman?
We were not exclusive. It's funny, He would say things like, "Well, honey, I like this. Well, honey, I like that." But it's okay. You've got to find a husband. So he was like telling me to go hunt, but at the same time, we would play.
And were you hunting?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I don't really hunt. I would say I make myself available and open depending on the situation and if it made sense for that person and I.
Okay, but you were still active on Seeking?
I was still active.
So you must be getting
And,
tons of messages. And
for a while there, though, during the first year, I didn't use Seeking as much. But the second year, when he kept on talking about others, and I was like, all right, fine. Then I'll put my foot in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and I decided to cut it off completely for a while and switch up because I felt like I wasn't finding what made sense for me. Anyway, what made me comfortable just wasn't there. So I got into the vanilla business for a little bit. I went and actually got a job, guys.
you got a job?
I got a job. I went vanilla for a little bit.
You know what a job stands for? It's JOB, just over broke.
Just over broke. I hear that. I hear that. But you know what? It's all about perspective and how you look at it. I'm not going to look at it as just over broke, but something. It's opportunity. No
Sure.
matter how you make yourself available and how you make money, I will never knock that.
Okay, so in that arrangement, was there any type of financial benefit other than room and board?
Oh yes, there was. There was monthly, yes, for 2 years. However, for the last, there was something that happened that took a turn, and it no longer became a monthly thing because he realized that I was dating somebody else. And that became sour real quick. And I'm like, well, I thought you wanted me to find somebody. What happened to that? What happened? Well, this and this and that and this. I'm like, okay.
So he cut off your allowance.
Yes, he did.
Do you
Yes, he
mind
did.
telling us how much your allowance was?
Comfortably $5K
Okay.
and anything else I wanted in between.
Okay. All right. That's
great.
that's pretty good. Would you say that's high or low?
I would say
About average.
I say that's a little on the high side,
You do.
but average if it, it's an exclusive relationship. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that one ended. How long ago was that?
Let's just say it's still ongoing.
Oh.
Do you still live there?
Can't let me go.
Oh, that.
I asked you if anything was off limits.
Do you still live
Yes,
with them?
I'm still there.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, so we're like roommates right now.
Wow.
Well, the first time I came out to pick her up, I pulled up in front of the house and she came out and she said, "Wait a minute. The security camera can see you. You need to back up." And I thought, oh, there's something going on here. And it wasn't until the second time when I had to get out of the security camera again that she began to explain exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Yeah.
Okay, what nationality or background was this
Caucasian.
Caucasian. So do you mostly date white men?
I don't have a preference. I
Okay.
don't box anybody. I don't believe in any of that. If we make sense, if we're comfortable and we're attracted to each other, then so be it. I don't have a type per se, but I am approached mostly by Caucasian men.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you're currently on Seeking right now.
I just deleted it yesterday.
Why?
Because I got frustrated, but that will change. I said, maybe I'll take a short break and then I'll get back on there.
What was frustrating you about it?
Constant scammers and guys that make it seem like they want to commit or they wanted something for nothing. I got a lot of, let me see this, let me see news, let me see. I'm like, you haven't given me anything yet. Do you know where you are? Like,
Right.
this is not a something for nothing transaction.
Now, have you met very many people off Seeking?
I've met since I have went, because remember I did take a break and I went back in August of last year is when I got back on there, and then I met Jack. So I would say 5, including Jack, 5 people.
Okay.
So I'm pretty picky.
Yeah.
3 of them were out of town. So
Oh, they came in
They
from
came
out of
in
town?
from out of
Yeah.
town,
Yeah, we
yes.
Lily gets a lot of that.
I do.
But she'll entertain the thought for a little bit, but she's really looking for something, local and more intimate. If she's going to establish something with somebody, she
Want an actual relationship.
yeah. That makes sense.
I want something long term that's not so much work and not so much juggling.
Right. There's a lot of juggling.
Yes, there is.
Awfully lots of juggling.
Well, after interviewing multiple sugar babies and reading many, many articles, most sugar babies are entertaining multiple sugar daddies.
Yes, because I say that they entertain many because, well,
You never know when one's just going to snap his fingers
you
and you're
just
done.
never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
Right.
And people do get attached, and you have to be prepared to move on when they get attached. Something is always going to go left. They never last. It just doesn't. And in the sugar daddy world, variety is the spice of life, and they want to try everything. You can't be mad at that.
Ask this
You
guy.
cannot
and
be
his
mad at that.
31 flavors theory.
Yeah.
Well, in my very first episode, this one's probably going to be like, I don't know, 85 or 6 or
Yeah,
something. But
we're getting up there.
in my very first episode, I likened it to, I used to own an ice cream parlor, and I had 32 flavors of ice cream. And you know what? I loved every flavor that I had. Now, I had my favorites, but every now and then I would like to try other flavors.
Yeah, hey, that's how you do it. And
Right.
I'm for that. I'll even encourage them and say, hey, it's okay if you see other babies, that's fine. Men like that. They don't want to feel like you have a leash on them or anything like that. And believe it or not, when you give them that much option, they're like, wait, what are you doing? Don't let me, hello.
It's almost counterintuitive because when and it's natural for feelings to get involved because
Yeah.
when you're in a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship, you're seeing, for the most part, the best sides of each person.
Right.
The sugar babies are playing a role. They're here to listen to you, almost be like a therapist, help you with your sexual needs, and then they go their way. They don't bring their drama, and you go your way, and then you meet up again. So you're just seeing all the good parts, and it's very easy for a sugar daddy to start having feelings because they're like, oh my God, this girl's amazing.
Yes,
She's young.
yes,
She's hot.
yes.
She's beautiful.
She's perfect.
She's
Yes.
just absolutely perfect. When absolutely they don't even know they have no idea about their ups and their downs and their sad moments and their dark spots. They don't know any of that because they're just there to play a role. So what happens
But
when
he did cut off all his sugar babies for me. He
Oh,
did.
the-
I
the-
didn't ask.
that-
Yeah. I even offered. I said, well, you know what? I understand that we're no longer there. Well, he goes, well, I don't think that's healthy for us anymore, especially if we're living together. I said, okay, not a problem. And if you would like me to, find ladies for you, I'll hook you up. Not a problem. He goes, nope. Mm-mm. So basically, if it wasn't me, it was nothing.
Are you sure he did, or he just said
Oh,
he
I'm
did?
positive.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me. I'm positive.
Because us men, we're kind of sneaky.
I know. There's not much sneaking around me.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So Jack, I just want to find out a little bit what's going on with you these days.
I'm afraid this is going to be boring by comparison. I got off the site in mid-November. What I basically did was what you basically do. I've been doing it for 7 or 8 years. Frankly, I got tired of it. I was right at the end of it when I met Lily and when we sat down.
And what is that?
What? You mean seeking?
What you said you're doing what I'm doing.
Well, I've got one lady that is platonic. I met her on Seeking. I
Okay.
explained what Seeking was and how it worked, and she said, that's not for me. She's 66, very attractive, age appropriate. She said, hey, listen. She said, would you like to try something else? So I go to a lot of concerts at the Musical Instruments Museum.
Oh, I love
Ravenscroft.
that. Yeah, I've
she
been there.
goes with me.
Yeah.
We go to golf tournaments together. We occasionally meet for lunch or dinner. I pay for everything. It's totally platonic. The other side of the coin is lust, and I have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them handles it very intelligently. I mean, she was at the house Monday before last, and I said, well, how about next week? And she said, no. I know how you work. She said, I'm going to make you wait. You're going to ask me,
Well,
and
that's
I'm going to
smart.
make you wait a week or 10 days. When you see me again, you're going to really want to see me again. And I thought, very smart, exactly the right thing to do. And that's how she works it. And we never get tired of one another. We see one another occasionally. And she said, I like money. I like uncomplicated sex.
Yeah, there you go.
Fine.
It's funny. Our co-host Kimmy has been doing that. She'll meet somebody and she'll say, I don't have sex until my 5th date. And I tell you what, it drives the men crazy, but they'll continue dating her because they want to get to that 5th date.
Yeah, it's about one thing at the end of the day. And if you want the cookie really bad,
Yeah.
you're going to be really nice for the
Well,
cookie.
I'll give you an example. I mean, I'm a freak about showing up on time. I told Canela to be at the house at 12:15.
Yes.
She shows up at 12:30.
I'm very punctual myself, and I appreciate that.
She shows up 15 minutes late, and I'm pissed. So we're on the way down here, and she has a very slit skirt. And about 2 minutes into the ride, I look over at the skirt, and I begin to think, oh, Christ.
I may or may not have hiked it up a little bit to calm him
Yes.
down.
I was looking at her legs. I'm thinking, I'm clearly out of line. And I'm thinking, you're so weak. I mean,
We are weak, aren't we?
yeah, I'm so easily manipulated. So anyway, but no, I have one or two for lust and one for platonic stuff. And that works nicely for me. I don't have to do the seeking anymore. I just have 7 or 8 years of it was enough. I really doubt I'll go back and do it again.
Really?
I'd be surprised. I have said that before,
Yeah.
however.
And then one day you're going to be at home bored, wondering what's out there. And
Well, I will
there's
say
a new
this.
crop of ladies on there every day.
If you happen to be suffering from a case of testosterone poisoning, you know as well as I do, you get irrational.
Yeah. All right, Canela. Now you said that you turned somebody into a sugar daddy.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's basically illegal to take your clients from the ranch, but he wanted to come with, and who am I to say no? So I brought him along with, and he flied me out from Arizona to Reno every now and then, and basically I converted into that. I said, you know what, you can pay me such and such amount in one shot, and we can have fun. I don't have to split it with the house.
Yeah.
You can spend more time with me versus it just being 1 hour or 2 hours,
Yeah.
and we just made it work from there.
Okay, I have an interesting question.
Yes.
So at the ranch, are different services different prices?
Yes, because every woman is an independent contractor and it varies.
So you determine your own menu of
That's correct.
prices.
That's correct.
And then do you just double it for each additional hour?
Well, for some women may. For me personally, my services was a la carte.
Okay.
Yes. So I negotiated my prices based off what you wanted. And so, one service was a certain amount, the other whether it's less or more. And if you wanted a certain amount of time, I increase based on the time as well.
So was there any service off limits for you?
No.
What would you say your specialty is?
I'm not to toot my own horn, but I never had any complaints.
Yeah.
Never had any complaints. My very first party, which is crazy, we call it party and, the act of the negotiating and stuff. So my very first party was actually an orgy.
Really?
Yes.
With how many people?
There were 6 ladies and 2 young men.
All right. So wow, this is good.
Very first day.
Two young men walked into the bunny ranch.
Yeah. So this was Kit Kat at the time. Mm-hmm.
So they walked in and they wanted 6 girls.
So they didn't want the 6 girls, but I negotiated them into having multiple of us.
Yeah.
Yes. Because that increased, the prices, and they're young and young guys have a lot of energy. So I was like, well, how about, these amount of girls? And they were like, really, we can do that? I'm like, yes, let's do it.
All right. So one thing, men, 99.9% of men absolutely hate condoms.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do when they would just beg to absolutely not use those?
It was not an option for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I had a thing where I would stoop down in front of them and lube up my hands and remove the condom and just talk really dirty to them as I stroke it.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Well, the first time we met, we're sitting, and
Lord.
she's having a glass of whiskey. I'm having a vodka and tonic. And she starts telling me about some of her experiences at the ranch. And this is an hour after we met. And she starts miming giving her date a blowjob. And I'm thinking, well, this is the first time this has actually happened on a first date with me. And it went from there. So I thought, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, I was telling him a story, and I was like really getting into it, to the details.
Yes.
All right.
We got some good visuals out.
Yeah. So tell us about how, you messaged Jack, and then how did it go from there?
Well, she messaged me, and I was a little surprised by that. And I have a type 2, and that's it, right sitting across the table. She was too young. We talked on the phone, and I listened to the voice, and I thought, oh, no, she looks like that. And she has a Caribbean accent. And we sat down, and we started to talk when we met, and I found out that she was no dummy by any means, and definitely her own woman, both of which I like very much. And then it got beyond the initial conversation, when I sat there and carefully explained to someone who has infinitely more experience with the process that I do. I'm sitting there being, the older man explaining to the naive younger woman, not realizing this was before it had been explained what she did. You also didn't tell him about your publishing career, did you?
Oh, I was published in Hustler magazine 4 times.
So anyway, you can see it's a normal man sitting across the table from somebody who is different.
Mm-hmm.
And then I carefully explained all this to her, and then she started to explain to me her past. And I thought, oh, well, isn't this interesting? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I was impressed by her patience, because I'm obviously even slightly patronizing her when I explained this to them, this much younger woman, not realizing that actually it was exactly the reverse. She was way beyond me in terms of experience. And she was just sitting there waiting for her turn to actually tell me what it was really going to be. And she was quite reasonable about it. She said, these are the numbers. I named a number. She said, nope, too low. And she named and, we went back and forth. And we finally arrived at something in the middle. And I'll tell you why. We haven't done anything. We haven't gotten together. And I'll tell you why we haven't gotten together. I have no desire to go to bed with somebody at this point that I might really, really like, that I might say, oh, wait a minute. She's exotic. She's intelligent. She's a colossal pain in the ass, personally, because she's her own person. And I thought, okay, I don't need to put myself in that position. Plus the fact, from an age standpoint, it would never under any circumstances work. But by the same token, you can see she's fun to hang around with.
Sure.
So we were at the Phoenician the last time we got together. We spent an evening at the Phoenician
That was
having
a blast.
dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, and we get together once in a while, and I'm fine with that. So
Platonically.
it is platonic.
Until
in
he
fact.
gets smooching.
Oh,
He always seals it with a kiss at the end, just the right amount, not too much.
I will quote something that she said to me because it made me really laugh. I mean, the first time we met, we didn't do anything, but I sent her a couple of $100 because she described her situation. And I thought, that's a hard situation. And then she called me up and she explained something to me a couple of weeks later. I sent her something else. And then I did it one more time. And she said to me over the telephone, you're the only man that's ever given me anything and hasn't tried to fuck me.
Yes.
And I thought,
Yes.
well, maybe I'm just a bad negotiator.
Oh, it's very admirable of you there, Jack.
Admirable might be a stretch.
Yeah.
So, once in a while, when you do this, you run into somebody that you find very entertaining, very different.
Yeah.
Not the kind of person you would ever run into on a regular basis. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I've met people that I respect very much. I met a sugar baby who had been raped 3 times. And I just did not want to go there with her sexually. We hung out 15, 20 times maybe. And usually I would help her financially a little bit. But I just enjoyed her company, and we did a lot of things. We went to some concerts. We went bowling. We went, Top Golf and different things. So there's occasions where I really respect somebody, but I'm not trying to go there sexually.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this situation is. I liked her personally a lot. There were a ton of reasons why it wouldn't work, but she was so entertaining to hang around with and so frustrating at times because I keep trying to give her advice, and she keeps just basically blowing me off on the advice, kind of, what do you know?
This is not a therapy session.
Yeah.
No.
So it's one of those very entertaining things that rarely comes along. And I thought, she's entertaining enough to introduce her to Lily and to possibly see if we should all get together and talk about something different than you might have talked about before, or to have a guest who brings something else to the show that you might not have seen before.
Oh, yeah. Very unique. Lily?
Yeah. I'm just curious. So your current sugar daddy that you live with
Right.
cut off all his sugar babies.
Mm-hmm.
Did he reinstate your allowance?
No.
Is he going to?
I support myself, and that's fine. That's one thing about me. It's not the end all be all with men. I have options. And if I want to really go out there and get a sugar daddy, I can do all of that. But I'm also a very strong, independent woman, and I will get it however I can.
So are there feelings involved? Are you attached to him
I've
emotionally?
never ever been in love, and I have, except for like in high school, maybe infatuation.
And you know
I
what?
don't really
Those
catch
feelings
feelings.
are very real and they're very strong. We're just very immature at that age, but they are
Yes.
real.
I'm a genuine person. There's no, listen, if you're going to slip and fall in my mouth, it's going to have to be genuine. Okay.
Oh, God.
See what I mean?
Okay.
It's not the kind of thing you hear from just everybody.
No. I think that's a Kimmyism.
Yeah, our co-host Kimmy would say something like that. Okay, just back it up a little. I'm still curious. So you grew up in the Caribbean.
I did.
And then when did you move to the U.S.?
I was 11.
11. So you went to school and high school here.
Yes.
Did you go to college?
I did. I went to post-university.
Okay. And then did you have any like serious relationships in high school and college?
I had one straight out of high school. We basically met when I was 14, got engaged when I was 16. He was 2 years older than me. And by the time it was time for me to go to college freshman year, he bought me a car, and he's like, let's
He
do
bought
this.
you a car.
bought me
He
a
was your
car.
first sugar daddy right there.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But no, he was really there for me through thick and thin, and I do have love for him, but we were just not right for each other. He was very possessive, controlling, and he very much wanted a family right off the bat, and that was something I was not in the position for. I could not give him that.
So
I cut it off.
Yeah.
That night was a wild night because he threatened to kill himself.
Oh.
Yes. And I was like, well, I'm not stopping you. I'm not saying that to be rude, but it's very unfair for you to take your life and turn it around and say it's because of you when you're dying at your own hands or trying to. But obviously, he's still alive. We moved on from that, and we haven't been in contact.
It's so crazy. I've had some relationships that I thought were the most important thing in the world at that age, and absolutely brokenhearted, and like weird things come into your head like suicide and, why am I even here? And I should just off myself. But I'll tell you what, after I've seen, you bounce back, things get better. There's so much life to live, and people sometimes don't realize that they just can't see that things will move on, even if it's not with the love of your life, quote unquote.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just had to put it on the table and just say, I'm not going to give you what you want. That will never it's just never going to change.
Right.
And you should know that about me by now,
Yeah.
And, we just moved on from there. And it's crazy because I think right before I left CT back in 2017, there's a grocery store called Stop and Shop. And while I was walking out, he was walking in and he had a pregnant wife and a baby. I was like, oh my God, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. Years.
There you go.
Like right before I left, and I was like, whoa.
Did you talk to him?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And he goes, did you ever move on? I'm like, oh, please. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, good for you. You got what you wanted. But he was very much dedicated. He was even willing to, because I refused to convert to Muslim. I'm not going to convert to something I don't genuinely connect with or didn't make sense to me. So he was willing to step out of that, even though his family didn't like it. So
interesting.
yeah.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want children?
I do eventually.
Okay.
Of course.
And then my other question is, does your family know about all your sex work?
Okay, so my upbringing is very different. I grew up in a foster care.
Okay.
Yes. So doesn't really matter. And I don't care what people think either way.
Do you consider anyone parental for you?
No, I've very much always been independent.
So the family you have here, are they on your maternal side or your paternal side?
So this is basically foster kind of,
okay.
situation. I do have a godfather that I stay in contact with every now and then, but I don't need that. I'm different in that way. God takes care of me.
Do you have any feelings that you got cheated in life? Or because you grew up so different than a normal family relationship?
Sometimes you don't get to choose. Just like
Right.
you don't get to choose the meat suit, you don't get to choose the predicament you come into, I mean, I could sit here and say how much I've gotten cheated, but you just have to, life goes on. You can't just sit there and wallow in it.
Yeah.
You have to make the situation better for yourself, manifest,
Right.
make the circumstances serve you versus it, overwhelming you.
We all grow up in very unique families. Everybody's is different. And I remember my mother saying so many times, life's not fair, life's not fair. And I never really knew what that meant. But now looking back on it, life just is so different for all of us.
So Marcus, I wanted to ask you something that caught my attention.
Oh, yeah?
You said that, how should I put this? So how did you come up, that sugar baby you told me, you said that was raped 3 times.
Yeah.
Was that information like offered up to you right off the bat? Like how did that?
Yeah, we had a really good meet and greet, and we did some sake bombers. And so,
nice.
things were loosened up a little bit.
Sake can do that to you.
Yeah, and she was showing me her tattoos, and she had 3 roses, and
Wow.
she got raped in high school, and she got raped by a stepfather, and then she got raped while she was in the military. And Jack, how do you go on when somebody shows you that and they're a little emotional? It almost takes, I just did not want to go there sexually with her. I felt horrible.
And I would have felt exactly the same way. If she had propositioned me 5 minutes later, I honestly could not have accepted.
Yeah.
I would have had to wait until that got in the rearview mirror, and only then, if I felt she was really opening up, because I do sympathize for people like that. I mean, there's a little more of Canela's past that we haven't talked about that perhaps shouldn't come up.
I don't mind because I feel like I'm a living testimony, and I've really been through the healing process.
But
you know,
there are some things
So-
you can't say for
Oh, no.
reasons that you understand, and not to be mysterious about
what
it.
do you what do you mean?
but your past employers?
Oh, my past. Oh, yes, that.
for those
The-
reasons. Yes. Now this
so-
sounds mysterious. It actually
Yes.
isn't. Let's just say, to put it very simply, let's just say there was some serious sexual harassment.
What is that? Oh,
That's my watch.
okay.
Like, somehow there's a lullaby and I'm ready for a nap.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But there's something I just want to touch on really, really quick. I brought that up for a reason because that's a part of the reason why I ended up in the system. So in Jamaica, I was molested by 3 different relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And following that, I came to the States. That came out. I ended up in the system. Happened again twice in the system. So I really took working at the ranch as a way of taking my power back and making it make sense where I can enjoy that still.
You know, I think that's
turned
very
it into
important.
my superpower.
This I did not know. This is news to me.
Yeah.
I was talking about a legal situation.
Yeah, oh, I know that. I know
Honestly,
that.
I've got to say, it doesn't surprise me that happened.
And so that's what put a chip in this sugar daddy relationship, because he knew all of these things. I told him about it, and he decided out of nowhere that he was going to try to be my father. You're like a daughter to me. I said, no, because you don't fuck your daughter. Excuse me, but you don't.
Right.
So it's like, since he went there, there was no going back, because I've had people close to me do the same thing. So that spoiled it. And that's why we are no longer, that's why I'm willing to give up that allowance, because you can't say that. And that's very triggering. So you're asking me to go back into bed with you after you're posing as a father. That's not going to work. No. Come on now.
Right.
Yeah. You would be surprised at how many men out there have that fantasy.
It's different if it's a fantasy, right? If it's a fantasy and you approach it that way, that's completely different. I have no problems with it. But when you're being serious and trying to advise me as a no, absolutely
Wait a minute.
not.
Let me ask a question. Lily, did you just say that there are fathers out there, men out there, that have a father-daughter fantasy?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. There are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there's men. I'm not saying it's your actual father, but there's something called DDLG, daddy, daughter, little girl. And it's these men who would just have a
Yeah,
fantasy
and-
of being with someone significantly younger. Most of them are fine with role play, but some of them want to date very significantly younger girls so they can live out that fantasy.
Believe it or not, we had, it's funny, that came up because we had women at Bunny Ranch that they were in their 30s, but they looked like little girls. They were so petite and small, and they played that role. And I'm like, well, that's good, because then they don't have to take it out on somebody that is actually young.
Underage, right?
Exactly.
Well, and they were probably in high demand.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I mean, a lot of the girls, even the girls in their mid 20s to upper 20s, they think, oh, I'm too old to be a sugar baby, because the men want the really young girls. But what we're finding is actually, I don't think anybody's too old to be a sugar baby. I mean, Lily's 52.
Oh,
You know,
my goodness.
The
At
girls in their
ranch, we
30s
had,
and 40s are in high demand.
Yeah, our oldest lady was 73.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
her name was Kamisha Kamado, and
Yeah.
she was
You
still
go, girl.
Yes, she was still. Hey, she was still doing her thing.
Was she a busy lady?
She was.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, and conversely, you would be surprised how many very young boys have a mother-son fetish.
Oh yeah.
I've been propositioned
Lily
for
gets that a lot.
many times.
Yeah.
Not just a MILF fetish. It's like they want you to role play
Yeah.
as their mother. And I asked one of them, I said, why in the world is that sexy to you? And he said he had been molested by his mother and he really liked it and he craved that now. He missed it.
Well,
Wow.
that's the classic Oedipus complex, and it exists for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it does. I mean, this brings up a couple of memories I have of me and my mother, and it was unfortunately not unlike what you're thinking, except I didn't initiate anything. And this is many, many years ago, and I found that shocking that someone would do that. I still find it shocking that someone would do that. Human beings are messy. I mean, they really are. And it's a fascinating experience. It doesn't surprise me for a second that you got molested. It doesn't surprise me for a second that you were sexually harassed on the job. I've seen so much of that over the years, and I've had just a taste of it myself, and I find it almost impossible to accept. I mean, I didn't like it. I went in the other direction.
Right.
I found it disgusting. But, I mean, I know some more of her story, and
I loved my job. My God, I was killing it. I was basically selling luxury vehicles.
Really?
Yes. I can't say the name right now because I'm in the middle of a lawsuit.
Okay.
But, I was selling luxury vehicles. I was number one. The GM had a record of sleeping with his employees, and so he thought he could slide in, and no.
Canela put her foot down and says, "You're not treating me that way.
Good
No.
for you.
I'm here to sell cars."
Yes,
I gotta
that's
tell you.
right.
Yeah.
that is so common in business.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I was 25 years old, I went back to the home office of my company, and I looked at what was going on between the bosses and the secretaries, and this was 40 some odd years ago. It was extremely common. It was a very accepted thing. So even with the current trend, the story you told me is common, very common. I mean, particularly if you're a potential customer, the dentist.
Oh my God. Okay, so we had a high baller client, right? He just flew in from Malibu, and he's like, "This is the car I want. I want the massage seats." It was a LS500, right? So I upsold it. I found the color combination he wanted. He took 3 different test drives. And on the 3rd test drive, he goes, "Wow, this really have everything I need. The massage, now all that's missing is a good blowjob." I choked.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Does that surprise you at all?
A little bit.
That's very bold for an establishment. It's
Yeah.
very bold.
Marcus, does it surprise you?
I've heard and seen a lot, so you know.
Doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
in the least. Not in the least.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty bold to, say that directly to a sales woman.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Canela and Jack and Lily, we have come to the end of the show. I know it goes very quickly. We always say that.
That's
The
awesome.
end
That
of
means
the
we're
very-
having fun.
The end
Yeah.
of the very crackly show.
Yeah.
We're going to call this the Crackle episode.
Well, you're going to edit all that out.
I'm going to try.
Lily's does magic, so she will make us all sound wonderful at the end. We really appreciate you coming in and sharing your sugar dating stories. And
Yes, thanks for having me.
yeah, if you guys want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, go to our website at secretsofasugardaddy.com, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We'd always appreciate you going to our website and clicking on a few links. We got some great sugar dating articles there, and my favorite course on how to pleasure a woman. OMG, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Maybe Canela could take a look at it and see if we're doing that right.
Of course. I'll be more than happy to look over the details.
Oh, yeah. All right. Until next episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.